you've ever kept exotic pets, you know that it's a lot of trial and error because there aren't really informational resources to give you the really specific details you might need in troubleshooting. So I'm going to share my experience with houseflies, since they've been the hardest to figure out. My technique has been to make every mistake that it is possible to make and use process of elimination until I run out of ways to screw it up. So I was hoping that maybe I could spare somebody else the experience of learning the hard way like I did. Note that this is for houseflies specifically. I have kept black soldier flies and fruit flies, and they are not nearly as inventive with finding new and exciting ways to die, so you'll probably be fine keeping those if you have the guide. A basic housefly colony starts in a 32-ounce deli cup with a breathable lid like this. This one's cloth, and this one is wire mesh. You can get those from mantisplace.com, which is where I get my pupae, if you don't have a specialty pet store near you. Or you can make your own if you feel fancy. This is fruit fly medium. The flies lay their eggs in it and use it as a food source. You can add some table scraps and leftovers if you want to have more food in there. Larvae love dry kibble, but be careful. It tends to go moldy if you add too much, and that will kill your flies. There are several brands of this fruit fly medium. I use Repashy. I have a big old container because I find that the flies just survive more consistently if I make a new cup for every generation. This says it's for fruit flies, but it works just fine for house flies. You just boil the water and add the powder according to the instructions. Make sure to read those carefully, though, because they're kind of confusingly worded on the Repashy instructions, at least. So here's what it looks like when it's cooked. It needs to be the consistency of paste. If it's too soupy, the flies will drown in it. I live at altitude, so it may be different, but I find I need a higher ratio of powder to water than the recipe calls for to get it thick enough. I tried reducing the amount of water, but that ended up not making enough food, so the flies ate it all and didn't have anywhere to lay their eggs. So add more powder or water, not less. Honestly, this here may not be enough food, so I'm going to be adding kitty kibble so that they have enough to eat. You also want to make sure that at the top here there aren't any spaces between the wall and the fly medium, because the flies cram themselves into those spaces to lay their eggs and get stuck there and die. Not a joke, they are very consistent about it. Don't leave them room to do that. I'm actually refilming here because with the last cup I made, I found out I packed the paste too tight, and apparently that also prevents them from laying eggs, and they all died. So you're welcome for finding that extra pitfall for you to avoid. So next you're going to fill the cup with Excelsior, which is an extremely cool name for this decorative moss. You can find it at craft stores, probably garden stores. I get mine online. You have to make sure that it's packed in at the correct density. If it's too dense, then the flies won't be able to navigate their way through it and get into the paste so that they can eat it and lay eggs. And if it's not dense enough, then they die also for some reason. But this is an appropriate density. That's what that looks like. And that's about it for setting up these cups. This is my current one. It's just having some adults pupate now, and they're nice and big and active, so you can tell that they've eaten well enough. Next time I might talk about the process of transferring adult flies, because, you know, once all of these larvae hatch, I'm gonna want to put them in the new container. But until then, that's about how you set up a cup.